Cheers everyone, welcome back. Grandma's Handbag. Thank you for joining us in the great outdoors. It's a Sunday night barbecue, so I've got stuff that's about to be cooking there. I want to make this one pretty quick, but it's the 10 over 10 thread I've seen. Richard McCook, I think, started off. But Bill over at the Vinylverse did a great version, very prog heavy, which I really was hoping for, and he delivered on. But he got me thinking, maybe I could jump on this, because back in the early days, you know, Pink Floyd was an early one for me, and they really tuned me into long songs. It's just kind of a perverse delight, you know. And I was also that cheapskate sort of asshole that would go to pubs, bars, and always pick the longest song for your jukebox dolly, you know. And then they started putting 10-minute limit on songs, so you get songs like The End that would fade out. Give me the shits, no end. But anyway, so I've always had these long song ideas in mind, and we're going to get into a few of those in a second. Quickly though, the Helper, Monteith Summer Ale, New Zealand beer, and they stick a bit of New Zealand honey and ginger in here, so it really does bring the summer a good thirst quencher. It's been a pretty warm day. We haven't had one of those for a while, so cheers to all. Anyway, oh, and new subscribers, welcome. I haven't officially welcomed you or acknowledged you all, so thank you very much for jumping on board. Do hope you stick around. Really appreciate you dropping by, saying hello whenever you feel like it, and that as well. And obviously the old hands always appreciate you kicking around. Anyway, enough of that. 10 songs over 10 minutes. Number one we're going to go for is off here. 8 LP complete matrix tape set. But what I want to draw your attention to is LP2, set 3 LP2, which is basically Sister Ray split over 2 sides. Now, if that actually isn't a good advertisement for why CDs can sometimes be a blessing for long songs, this song goes for 38 minutes, so they actually kind of break the flow of the song by putting it over 2 sides. But what are you going to do? You need to get Sister Ray on there, and if it's a 38-minute live track, it's got to go on. So that's the first one off the rank there. Next one, probably again no surprise, just got to find a place to put these now. Dylan, Bob Dylan, he's been known for a few long songs, but the closer on this one, Highland, 16.5 minutes. And it's really in no time to go anywhere at all, which is kind of what I love about it. When I was a lot younger, I cottoned onto this album when it came out, and I could really take or leave Highlands, but later on it's that kind of meditative aspect of him almost walking through his memory, and just encountering situations and things with no attachment, and off he goes. Just brilliant. It's kind of this old halftime talking walking blues in a way, but Dylan, quite a few 10-minute plus songs, unbelievably or not, or maybe not quite a few anyway. This one is a bit of a cheat. You have got TalkTalk with Spirit of Eden. Now, the cheat that I refer to is actually with the CD copy. The initial CD copies actually band together side one into one 23-minute and 44-second song. If you actually have a look at the back there, I think they kind of suggested in a way, see how it's been indented, the 2-second songs, as though it's almost a suite, whereas the second side doesn't do that. So I'm going to actually put that in there as a bit of a contentious one, but TalkTalk, that first side, it's obviously banded together so it flows into each other, but that's got to count in there somewhere. The next one is an Australian artist. He's probably better known internationally now as the leader of Tropical Fuckstorm. He was also in the Drones, but this is a solo album he did in 2010. Love to get a vinyl copy, but one day we'll see. And the closer is called The Radicalization of D, and it goes for 16 minutes and 11 seconds. And it's basically a very interesting meditation almost a letter that was written or not sent, a fictitious one about a guy that would have been holed up in a jail such as Guantanamo Bay or that for being radicalized, and explaining his process to becoming that way. So a really interesting idea and dissection of almost Western political thought post 9/11. Very interesting, but definitely not easy going by any stretch. Alright, next one. I'm going to go for another CD. Again, I don't have the vinyl, but this is a pretty famous one. Mogwai put out a 1-track single. This one luckily does have a couple of hidden bonus tracks. But the 1-track single is for My Father, My King. And you'll see that there, 20 minutes and 12 seconds. It is a behemoth track. It was actually, I think, based around an Israeli folk melody, which when you hear it, it kind of makes sense there. Recorded by Steve Albini, so it's really raw. Beautiful stuff though, but tell you what, takes a while to wind up, and when it does, it really hits, and then takes a while to wind back down as well. Beautiful stuff. Mogwai, My Father, My King. What do we got next? Alright, I mentioned Floyd before, so I'm going to go with a live one, but one you don't see all that often. So this is a live boot, Tour 73. Not much else that it tells you about the cover here, but if we go inside, we've got, you could do either of these tracks, Fat Old Son, but I was actually going to choose Embryo. Embryo, when in its live incarnation, commonly went over 10 minutes in the early 70s. I mean, that was just the way of Floyd as well. Even Fat Old Son would go 10 to 15 minutes. But the recorded version of Embryo, I think, went just over 4 minutes. So I actually think the live versions make a lot more sense than the recorded one. The recorded one was never really released until Works in 1983. But Embryo, I don't think it gets a hell of a lot of love, but you know, I think it was a fan favorite at the time, at least, anyway. Alright, next one. Good old favorite, Holger's the guy with Hollywood Symphony. This is off the album Movie. Originally it was called Movies, but they rejigged it for this version here. Anyway, 15 minutes and 3 seconds, and this guy is all about sampling. This is one of the first sampling albums, when it heavily sort of sampled albums, when it came out in 1979, I think. So, you know, even an influence there on people like Talking Heads, Brian Eno, My Life in the Bush, A Ghost especially sort of took stuff from here. And then further on, but anyway, 15 minutes. And it just pulses its way through with these samples with the help of Jackie Leibezeit of Can on drums. Masterful stuff, you know. He's always a perpetual motion, never overplaying it or anything like that, but absolutely essential to this thing. So a very interesting tension, I suppose, with those samples flitting in and out and creating almost the melody as opposed to Leibezeit's rhythm. But Holger's the guy, Can, no strangers to long songs whatsoever. This next one, I'm going to go back to a CD here. Purpline, Ruining It for Everybody. This is off their first album, local New South Wales Australian band. And the last song is, I think I'll Undo My Tie. I think it goes for about 14 minutes and 20 seconds. I guess it's always been a favourite song of mine. It's this kind of very reflective song. The first 4 minutes or so are very much jangle pop, you know, not thrusting away, but it's sort of, you know, really upbeat and everything. And then it hits the end of a standard song, and it goes into about 10 minutes or so of this sort of dreamlike jangle and reflective soundscape, which is beautiful stuff to listen to, especially when you're driving in rural scenery. It's very spacious, contemplative. excuse me, in its own way completely unnecessary, but that's kind of the joy of it as well. The band didn't do a lot else like that song exactly, or the 10-minute coda of that song, and I kind of wish they did take that a bit further. Anyway, this next one, another Australian band, Fabulous Diamonds is their name, Fabulous Diamonds 2. This one is on the Silt Breeze label. It's an American label. Anyway, I think this has got 5 songs split over 2 sides, so most of them get up there a bit in length, but and they don't really name the songs anything at all, to be honest. So you got side A and then side B, but it's actually got the track lengths on there for you. So side A, track 1 is 12 minutes 15 seconds, and if anything, it's a very suicide feeling song with that sort of juddering organ and almost synth like stabs in there, and the loop drums feel a lot more live, I suppose, but for some reason 12 minutes absolutely fly by for me. I can just get caught in that looped rhythm, listen to it and hear it play out, and it's you know, close to mesmerizing for me, I would say. Alright, the last one here, I've probably mentioned him, I always go through here, and Brian Eno, Discrete music. So the title track off this one traditionally goes for around about 30 minutes. On the original album it was a whole of side 1, but what they went and did with this half-speed remaster was put it over 2 LPs. So the whole first LP now is Discrete music, and they've split the song in half, just like they did with Velvet Underground. And I guess that's the price you pay for a pristine sounding representational version of a song, which is what the half-speed mastered at 45 gives you. And it is beautiful and quiet, a beautiful pressing, but the flow of the song is compromised. Still needed to have this regardless of that. If I do find an original, it'll be interesting to hold on to that as well. But an absolute reflective, meditative cornerstone song for me that seems to just fold in on itself and loop and spiral out just gorgeously, beautifully, quietly, and almost endlessly in a way. But yeah, Brian Eno, Discrete music. 10 under 10. Hopefully I haven't waffled on too long, because I've got to go get some dinner going for us guys. But cheers from the Handbag. Hope it's not been too dark here. It's certainly getting on. Take care. Talk to you all pretty soon. I'll be back with some vinyl finds, CD finds, and more. Take care, everyone. Talk soon.